Hello, Ryan Selman. So I decided to make a video as some kind of response to the conversation we had, in comments quickly. And I figured, I would make a reaction video to that and respond to each point you make progressively. So let's get into it, right?
Hello, YouTubers. Ryan here. Please pardon the vertical orientation of this video. I'm doing a screen recording, and I figured this as a follow-up to a video I just did yesterday about a moron who wants to sue his parents for giving birth to him.
And you just pretty much called him a moron. That's all you did. You didn't really justify why that was stupid, but I guess we'll hear more of your points during that video.
And apparently, the guy's apparently, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. I'll put the link in the description if you want to.
And I put the link to this video in the description too.
There's actually it's right the video after this, so you can go on my video list. It'll be right under this video. Apparently, he's an antinatalist. Apparently, there is such a thing as antinatalism, which is just another proposed belief by groups of stupid people.
You have to justify that, right? You don't just call the people stupid. That's just a hard hum. What you have to do is actually demonstrate why the belief itself is stupid. That should be your job. If you have any decency, if you have any ability to use, logic, and you have any understanding of how arguments work. But yeah, go on.
They believe that it is unethical and it's somehow wrong to reproduce, and that we don't have any right to reproduce, and that, so on and so forth. And this guy, I guess his channel's name is Lucio, says, yes, it's called antinatalism. Present a counter argument or shut the fuck up. The whole point is you can't get consent, which is an ethical problem. You keep saying it's stupid and that's it. Ad hominems. That's all you fuckers have.
And you know what? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and let's see if you can actually prove me wrong on that. Or maybe you'll just provide all the fallacies, but that doesn't really fix it, does it?
If you propose suicide, yet it's not that easy to do, and it doesn't cancel the suffering the person went through before dying. Provide selfless reason to reproduce. I challenge you.
And let's see if you actually did that in that video, right?
And of course, I made this response. I said, so basically, window-licking morons like you are suggesting that we should stop reproducing and creating more humans because it's unethical, and it's wrong because it's impossible for someone to give their parents consent to conceive them and give them life. Do you realize how stupid that sounds?
Well, it's just not... Just saying it sounds stupid isn't enough, right? So let's see what you say after that.
Animals don't seem to have this issue of needing consent because they don't fucking have to. Naturally, they mate and produce baby animals that will grow up and live their lives because it's part of their nature. It's natural for us humans to reproduce as well.
Right. But the reason why that's the case is because life is pretty much just a self-replicating phenomena. It's a sustained, self-sustaining system, right? So obviously, if you had some genes that would build animals that weren't efficient at reproducing and surviving, well, those genes would just cease to exist. So you'd expect every animal you see to have this natural tendency to indeed survive, at least attempt that, and reproduce. Right? But let's see what you say about that.
God designed us to be fruitful and multiply. But liberal morons like you would rather have humankind just stop breeding and die out because we can't get permission from people who don't even fucking exist yet to give birth to them. And this window-licking retard says, first of all, we are animals. But maybe he'll just deny this, as many religious people do.
Yeah, maybe. So let's see what you think about that. But I mean, look, I've encountered people saying that, right? So it's like you say, they don't fucking have to. Animals don't seem to have this issue of needing consent because they don't have. So are you talking about other animals or just humans? Let's see about that.
No, dumbass. I'm not going to deny that us humans are animals.
Okay, good.
Of course we're animals.
Good.
We belong in the animal kingdom. And in fact, if anyone wants to dispute that, say we're not animals, let me bring it up. Here, let's look up on Wikipedia. And I know you might say, well, Wikipedia isn't about...
So you're actually going to show that human beings are part of the animal kingdom Wikipedia. Okay, so I'm going to skip that part, not because I'm not interested in that, right? Because we already agree here, so there's no sense in discussing that. So I'm just going to skip ahead to once you go back to the conversation, I guess.
As every fucking animal, living thing on this planet that is not a fungi, not a fungus, or a plant.
Okay, so that's wrong, because we know there's other living organisms that aren't fungi, plants, or animals, right? I mean, if you did any kind of biology, you would already know this. Okay, well...
Yes, like these are some good examples of animals. And yes, us humans, we are animals.
Right, but any of the animals you've shown here, you think any of them has understanding of the consequences of reproducing? Okay, you see a tiger here, a bird here, so even an octopus here. Some of the smartest animals you'll find in that list here. How many of them are actually aware that they're going to produce something that is pretty much the same thing they are when they're having sex or whatever, mechanism, whatever behavior they have to go through to do sexual reproduction, because some don't need to do that, but how many of them have this awareness? You say animals don't have to, consider the ethics of reproduction. Well, that's the thing, right? You say they don't have to. The point is that they don't have any capability to question the game. They don't have that ability to take a step back and say, okay, what the hell is going on here? Because they're just programmed to do whatever needs to be done just for the DNA to be passed on. They're enslaved by a molecule, and we're not any different, right? It's just that the only difference that we have more awareness of different things, right? So we can, for example, we can have a better understanding that, yes, we will die someday, right? Or other things, but we're just playing the same game. Okay, we're not special. And yes, thank you for recognizing that humans are animals.
Yes, like these are some good examples of animals. And yes, us humans, we are animals.
Sure.
So of course I'm not going to deny that we're animals, of course.
Well, I said maybe you would deny that. So, it's not like you just destroyed my argument right here, okay?
It wouldn't make any sense in that. He says, second, other animals are more ignorant. I don't think their reproduction is ethically acceptable either. When the fuck has animals needed to worry about ethics?
Well, they do actually have those notions of fairness and don't be a lying scum, respects the rules kind of stuff when you talk about some intelligent social species, right? You could talk about some species of primates, dolphins, right? They actually display those kind of behaviors. So maybe your definition of ethics and ethical is completely different than mine, and that's why we have a big misunderstanding about this. But it's not like they have absolutely no notion of the kind of stuff that we tend to associate to ethics, right? So
when the fuck has God? I mean, did God actually give animals, the ability to process ethics?
So first of all, it's not God, but we'll get into that later. I already feel like this conversation is just going to end up as a dead end. But, I made some points, so at least I want to see if you actually addressed them. So we're going to look into that.
No, because he didn't have to. Animals do their shit. That's not because, they don't have to worry about ethics because it's not in their, they weren't programmed to.
Right, they were programmed to survive and pass on DNA molecules. They're exploited by a dumb thing, okay, that has no understanding of the value of suffering or any of that kind of stuff. It's a blind watchmaker, to make the analogy that Dawkins made, but yeah.
God didn't program their animal. other animals to have ethics. Do you think a lion who's going to hunt down a zebra, kill a zebra and eat the damn zebra, or hunt down an antelope and kill a damn antelope, or any other forms of prey, do you think they're gonna stop and think, I'm about to take the zebra's life?
Well, you can easily understand how if a lion was able to somewhat entertain those kind of thoughts, that would make this lion less efficient at, you know, getting food for himself, so or herself. The point is that he would be a less efficient killer, and because the whole skill tree, the whole tactic of those animals is basically to eat their relatives, right? Yeah, they wouldn't be able to survive, accordingly and to reproduce. So you'd expect predators to just simply not give a shit. And that's exactly what we observe.
The zebra's innocent. He's done nothing wrong to me.
Well, that's the point, right? Is that we somewhat have the ability to have those kind of thoughts because part of the reason why is because, sure, we have better understanding of stuff in general, but because, yes, we have vocabulary, we have this ability to think abstractly, we have the ability to think about things that are not actually happening in front of our eyes in that sense. But also, we're not just carnivores. And we're a social species. We have the ability to feel empathy for each other, but because we don't have to kill all the time, just to be able to survive. Because even predators don't have to kill constantly. But the point is that our ability to extend our empathy to other species isn't such a negative trait. So obviously, it exists in the first place for us to have a better understanding of how we feel, in a group, how other people feel, how we can react accordingly, how the group as a whole can be more efficient as a result of that. But we can also extend this ability to other animals, not only because there's no big issue in doing that in some situations, not as much as for a predator, that would be a complete carnivore, but also because, yes, we have more logic. We can understand that, oh yes, if it will feel bad for me to get eaten, it would probably also feel bad for that other animal. We have this ability to understand